Hello.
Hello,
Hi, I'm Tere. Um,
I'm Hemlock.
Hemlock.
I'm Cabra.
And we also have with us Amanda. Thank you for joining us. We are with Starsdance Mystery School, and the three of us, Tere, Cabra, and Hemlock, will be facilitating a new class that's coming up, AstroMagic Elections. And we will talk a little bit about that class tonight in this Zoom session. So,
Mhm.
anything else you would like to say about yourself, Hemlock?
I am in a backup role as facilitator this time, so I'll be handling back end design processes and doing a lot of learning.
And what is your astrological interest? Like you
Oh,
have
yeah.
particular. Mhm.
Yeah, so my astrological interest is really in Vedic astrology. Um, and yeah, I mean, I do, and I love our moon journals. Our moon journals are a big part of my astrological practice is our moon journals. So I really, really love them. I love creating them and I love doing them. Yeah, so following the moon and then Vedic astrology
Mhm. How about you,
with
Cabra?
a moon, with a lunar emphasis, in fact.
A lunar emphasis. Yeah. Yes. I was just remembering.
I can go next.
Yeah, Gabriel.
I actually came to astrology sideways. Most people get interested in astrology because of the sort of like personal development dimension of it. I originally joined the school as the tech witch, and at the time, I'm studying grimoires and I'm working specifically with grimoire angel magic. And then I found out it is secretly just astrology. And then I was like, conveniently. I have a bunch of people here who can teach me. And I had picked up a little bit, like bits and bobs from just reading books and being curious, but being with Stars Dance really helped me develop a practice and also like a more robust conception of what astrology can be, which is part of the reason why we're teaching the class the way that we're teaching it. Tara, do you want to talk a little bit about your practice?
Yes. So I have been an astrologer for 30 years, and I've been a witch for a little bit longer than that, maybe 40 years. And so I have always combined astrology and magic, but not in as intentional and out loud way as I do now, and how I want to continue to. Um, when I uh, like an as a beginning witch and as a beginning astrologer, I kind of kept my astrology a little bit secret until there has been a explosion of using astrology in magic and in ritual, and it
Mm.
makes sense, just like you say, Capra. The grimoires are all just coded in astrology. um and it's taken me a while to recognize that connection. And so I thought that this class would be a wonderful opportunity to get really deeper in my magic. I feel also like my own magic is very much related to my responsibility as a citizen of the world, and that magic is really called for in this moment, which, we'll talk a little bit maybe about our theories and philosophies around magic later. But
Hmm.
I think that it makes a lot of sense to combine what I know about the influences of the planets with my intentions around working magic. So it's just a natural fit now.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about getting deeper into it. Um,
Do you think, speaking of your past, that you could talk a little bit about how, when, and why you founded Stars Dance
mhm,
and like what was your inspiration for how the school runs?
mhm. Well, we started in 2020. That was a good year for starting
Aries,
something
Aries
new.
of 2020. It was in the
Yes,
works prior to that, but
right.
that's when we
Yes.
launched.
Right. And so I think some of it feels like some of it is around creating astrological community. So we're very focused on our Discord community and how we can just pop in and ask questions and share reflections and share resources and just understand that there's so many different ways to approach astrology. And I just love that, Cabra's has a Vedic approach. I mean, Hemlock has a Vedic approach, and Cabra, you have a more traditional approach. And I came into astrology with a lot of the modern psychological approach to astrology. And then my magic, I came in with that with a lot of activism. And I wanted a community and I wanted a place where we could just learn together. But also I had a lot to teach. I've been doing astrology for a while. And so it's just this location where I wanted to plant the seed of diverse approaches to astrology with this idea, with a very much a queer orientation, very much an activist orientation and a magical orientation. So that's where it came from.
And I can say that Starsdance has definitely been really successful in fostering diverse approaches to astrology. We have some people who use the lunar mansions and some people who don't. Some people who work with the asteroids and some people who don't. We have people who do tropical sidereal. We have a bunch of different house systems represented amongst our little group of star nerds. We've got Placidus, whole house, and equal house. I don't think we have any of the more like obscure house
So
systems.
that we have anyone using what the Coke,
No, I don't think
Not
we
that
have
I'm aware
anyone
of.
which
who's
I
using.
would be so curious how that works.
I I mean, technically my phone is set to currently like something that loosely means King's Mountain house system because that's apparently what you're supposed to use for horary. And like I haven't noticed much of a difference from Placidus yet, but we'll see. So we definitely have like we've definitely managed to foster a broad number of different approaches to astrology as a practice. And the fun part is playing off of it here and there. So like my branch of astrology tends to be very practical, but also very fatalistic, not even fatalistic. It just tends to be very pessimistic at times. And so occasionally I'll just like at somebody else from a different school to be like, okay, put a spin on this for me. Tell me how we can take advantage of the
Yeah.
moment. And vice versa, right? Like sometimes people will be like, hey, there's really good astro weather coming up. Electional astrologers, what do we do at this time? And so it's really good to see that happen. And I know Tara, you definitely have kind of talked about magic a little bit, and I think maybe now is a good time to
Mhm.
talk about what
Magic.
does magic mean to each of us and why do we do it?
Yes. Um, yes. So my working definition of magic is a relationship with the unseen worlds. And that relationship is accountable, devotional, intentional. Um, so it's not a way that I feel like I just access my will and then impose my will on the world, but it's more of I know that there are many layers that influence. That's what astrology is. It's just showing these layers of influence and that these layers are conscious layers. Like I believe the planets are conscious, but I also think of the trees and the snow. And so I think my magic is very animistic, full of gods and full of sort of devotional, collaborative relationships. What would you say magic is to you?
For me, magic is about taking action in hopes of some kind of change, right? But not necessarily an immediate measurable cause and effect thing. Like if I want my clothes to be clean, I have to wash them. And part of getting a new job is putting in the applications, but also there's this interaction with things where the cause and effect is a little less obvious, a little less measurable, and it's this mystery of like how much of this is psychological and how much of this is animism and how much of this is some secret third quantum mechanics option. And so I think for me, magic is a lot about taking action for a change without without being able to necessarily measure the causal relations. And so it ends up with a lot of relationship and symbol and resonances and sympathies. And I talk about this, I've already started working on some of the packets for the class, so I talk about this a lot in the first packet. Um, and so I think that the good thing about astrology as a basis for magic is first off that no matter how you approach it, psychology, biorhythms, energy, animism, deity, theurgy, whatever, astrology has seen it all and has already there's someone's already done it. So you have a basis to work off of, like kind of something to start with and then kind of make it your own. And additionally, um it's just a symbol set that everyone has. Like every single culture that I know about so far, I mean, I don't claim to know every single culture in the history of humanity because there's a lot of them, but every culture that I've seen so far has looked up at the stars and at least made little stories about the constellations. Not all of them have watched the movement of the planets, but the ones that have are like, there's a lot of them. And so it's one of those things where it's one of those things where like people talk across cultures really beautifully about it. And so the other really good thing about astromagic is that it speaks to the present moment. We're all struggling to learn to live in a multicultural society and what that means. And astrological magic is kind of one of the things where a multiculturalism is already baked into it, right? You don't have Christian astrology without medieval astrology. You don't have medieval astrology without Islamic astrology. You don't have Islamic astrology without Hellenic astrology. You don't have Hellenic astrology without Persian and Kemetic astrology. And so it's just cultural exchange the whole way down. And I really appreciate that, even if we can name where certain ideas got more or less popular or where certain ideas originated, they all end up kind of moving along as all of these different astrologers and diviners and like magicians just kind of pass their notes on to the next guy, right? So it's a side tangent, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
important to me.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Hemlock?
Well, I got really caught up in the history of astrology thing that was just happening. So to pull us back into magic before we wander down my favorite wormhole of nonsense, um, is that, for me, magic kind of bridges the two things that you were talking about, you and Tere and Cabra. And for me, it's very much like an attunement. So astrology for me is an opportunity to attune. But also magic is a tuning fork as well, um, for my particular system, whatever that system might be in, right? So it could be a community, it could be my individual nervous system, it could be my family, right? Like there are lots of little systems, and big systems, and how we can use magic individually or in groups to as a tuning fork for what's going on, or to shift the energy, or to pluck the harp strings of consciousness, and send those little ripples, across the world, across the universe. So yeah, I've been really digging tuning fork metaphors with magic lately, and that's where I'm at. But I just to echo Cabra's like cross-cultural conversation of like, tracing, Western astrology down, and yet in the names might be slightly different, but like the signs are the same. So in Vedic astrology, so there are Sanskrit names for Pisces, right? Fish. It's Mina in Sanskrit. It's the same sign, it's the same symbol set. So we're talking about cultural exchange that crosses the Himalayas. We're talking about cultural exchange that goes, both, both ways, not just staying around the Mediterranean. Um, Yeah, so I just think that like it's the heritage of astrology is deep. Um, and each of those has their own flavors, and can influence how we practice, right? So if I know we have some folks in the school that are really into the decans, which are, the ten degrees of each sun sign. Um, Whereas I'm deep into the nakshatras, which are 13 degrees and 20 minutes each. So they're a little more than a decan. So they bridge and they have a different energy signature when if something is bridging, Taurus or Gemini. Are you in the Taurus part of this nakshatra? Are you in the Gemini? And how is that flavoring it while still keeping the whole piece of that pie as its own flavor?
Mhm.
Yeah. And on top of the diversity of different schools of astrology that we have, and also the diversity of the cultures that are part of the grand astrological like blob of traditions, there's also like there's different you can work with a lot of different mediums. So like if you're a crystals witch, we got crystals, right? There's lots of lapidaries. If you are like a plants witch, I mean, Amanda knows this better than anyone else here. The plants and the stars have apparently been singing at each other since before humanity, right? If you like to do paper talismans, a lot of these manuals, like the Picatrix, have symbols that you draw associated with each of them. And I mean, if you get really deep into Christian grimoire traditions, you can also get like sacred names associated with different planets and what have you. Sorry, I left a rice cooker on in my kitchen. Um, but yeah, so it'll be fine.
We can
Uh,
barely hear it.
we got
If you
crystals, herbs, you can do paper talismans. You can do like little brass dog tags and just sit there and like ding at them and make little shapes in them. You can do there, it's all there. It's like whatever
Yeah,
you
whatever your preferred craft is.
what?
Craft, whatever preferred craft is.
And I'm sure if you were just like, okay, astrological magic, but make it knitting, I would just be like, well,
Yeah.
there's
And
ways, I'm sure.
I've woven altar cloths in devotion as like devotional pieces for planets. So like absolutely yarn craft in.
Proof of concept.
Right,
But
right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, and I think that can be part of what we do in this. It's an 8-month class, so we'll have plenty of time to chat about different techniques of magic, like how do you make an anointing oil? That was my latest election. I made an anointing oil. I put some,
Oh,
it
nice.
was centered around the trine. It's in this little jar. It was centered around the trine between Venus and Jupiter. Venus was exalted in Pisces and Jupiter was exalted in Cancer. And I said, I'm
Yeah.
doing some magic with that energy. And I used some herbs, and also the moon was in Taurus, which was also exalted. So 3 planets in
Nice.
exaltation. We're going to learn about these kind of ways of like, is a planet exalted? Is it in detriment? We're going to learn about their dignities, which is a really great way to get into that attunement that Hemlock was talking about. As
Mhm.
far as attuning with what the planet, how happy are the planets, which makes happy spells. I think.
I actually
Mhm.
I have an election coming up in early April for a floor wash I'm doing early one morning. But yeah, I've done floor washes. I started my bathroom renovation on an election. I mean, at 3 in the morning in my white robe, burning incense, like doing the whole
This is
thing,
the
and then
way.
taking the holy sacred consecrated screwdriver and removing the first piece of the bathroom.
Look, that bathroom came out flawless.
It
So
did. It did. It was a Saturnian election, which means it took forever, but by the time it was done, it was done.
Ah, and you were
Hopefully, I'm not gonna have to do it
satisfied.
for another 50 years.
well, and we can elect for other things. Like you elected your wedding,
Yep.
right? Like um we made ink the one time with an
Oh
election.
yeah.
Oh,
And then it turns out that I don't like making paper talismans at all.
live and learn. It was a fun experiment.
It was a nice time.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm also curious what other kinds of magic other than like how do you notice you're using astrology and magic? Using elections, and we have an assortment of different spells we've used. But when I first started using astrology and magic, it wasn't to elect a chart so much as to use what was present when I was in a ritual or, beginning something. Like we can align ourselves with what's present. Or in one of the most classic ways of that I began, I think, as a young witch was the phases of the moon, doing magic around, is the moon new? Is it waxing? Is it full? Is it waning? Um, yeah. Like, how have you used magic? Have you used it in rituals? Have you, started a meeting and said, okay, this is where the moon is? Like, what do you do with that?
Um, I'm still learning to get, I'm still learning to use the moment a lot, but that's because I spend way too much time reading like very cranky old sages, right? And so I'll like look at the chart of the moment and then I'll look at the sages and I'll compare the two and I'll be like, this is a time to go hunting, or like this is a time to like declare a war, or this is a time to go do a political assassination. And I'm like, I'm trying to do a spell to make sure my garden grows. I guess we're doing a war against pests or something. Do it that way. But the way that I have a tendency to make use of doing the moment is kind of through a sort of nostalgia magic because I have these bells for each of the seven classical planets that I consecrated at particular times so that if I really need a particular planet's energy at a particular time, I can ring the bell and it brings back that moment of like, I did my solar bell when the sun was in Aries and it was a beautiful spring morning. Coincidentally, the weather was nice and I can come back to that moment and that feeling and that vibration of like when the sun was in a very easy place to like get along with and still have that be part of the moment of like, listen, I know that your office is closed, but we're friends. Do me a solid.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, I think that's the point of astrological materia, right? Like, is to bottle a moment, and then when the astro weather isn't great, but you're like, I could really use a little Jupiter boost. You grab the Jupiter boost in whatever form you've bottled it, because I think that that's a useful thing to have in your witch's toolkit. And if nothing else, when I first became a witch, the person I was learning from had a literal toolbox of witch stuff, and like they had their witch kit, and like I love that idea of having a toolbox of things you can pull from in a literal toolbox or not. Um,
I think also both of these approaches require a relationship, right? Like, I
yeah,
don't just pull my sun bell out and just like ring it and I haven't done anything for like years. I am now once a day in my daily devotionals ringing one of those bells based on what sign the moon is in. So, we go from the moon to the sun all the way out to Saturn and then from Saturn all the way back to the moon. Um, and like I'm in contact with them. They matter to me. I handle them, but also I handle them in a way that's very conscious, burning certain incenses, saying certain prayers, doing things in a particular harmony so that there's a relationship there. It's not some guy you knew from high school showing up when you're 40 years old asking you for $10. It's the guy that you met in high school that you have these really great memories with, who's like checks up on you on Christmas and Easter and makes sure your family is doing okay and says,
yeah.
"Hey,
Or
it's
you're in
been
the
a
group
minute. Let's
chat,
hang out."
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the group chat buddies being like, "Hey, can I get $10?" And then it's like, "Oh, yeah, sure."
yeah.
Yes. So it is relationship, right? It is.
Hmm.
Well, you mentioned Hemlock, our moon journal. I'm just going to share our
Yeah,
moon
please do. I love our moon
um,
journal so
just to
much.
let people know how we follow the moon and what kind. Did that work? Okay. Do you see the moon journal?
It's thinking. There we go. Now we got it.
Oh. And you're seeing it, right? Still seeing it? Okay.
Yes,
So
that's the moon
this is
journal.
our next one, our Pisces moon journal. And we, give you a chart of the new moon and we talk about what Pisces is and the different, like the rulers, Jupiter and Neptune. And then we go on to Hemlock writes the self-care suggestions for the moon cycle, which is always great. And then we have those correspondences, to just inspire people with the kind of magic you might want to do. Like the Pisces lunar cycle is a water moon. And so you might want to think about water type magic. And then the parts of the body that's, sign rules and the kinds of magical practices. We've suggested some, but there are so many. And then this year, each lunar cycle, we have a theme that we crafted together in our year forecasts. And this Pisces lunar cycle is about shedding. And then we also will give you important transits. So you might really want to focus your magic on one of these bigger pieces that are going on in the month. We have the keywords for you, learning to navigate a new landscape and finding your footing. There's reflection and affirmations that are really, really inspiring that you could walk with or do magic around. We also have some contemplative practices that we suggest for the new moon and full moon. But then we also do our magic by following the phases. So there are 8 phases of the moon, and we have divination questions for each phase. We share what we are getting on our Discord channel. And so there are questions for each of the phases. And this is how I began following the 8 lunar phases of the moon. Is probably how I began to become an astrologer that paid attention to energy through, or how I became a witch paying attention to energy through the moon cycles. And so we have these questions for each of the phases. And yeah, this is what everyone who's registered in our school gets, this wonderful moon journal that Hemlock has a lot.
Now
As a
might
big
actually be a good time to talk about how the pricing structure works, because that's also something that's really unique about Starsdance, and I think also makes Starsdance more accessible than a lot of other astrology courses. Because to get a 101 beginners course, you could be paying anywhere from $150 to $300, especially if you're taking one with one of the big names like Chris Brennan or Austin Coppock. You could be spending $300 easy. And so I
Or
think talking
more,
about,
right? Like the year 1 course for Chris Brennan is definitely more than that.
I mean, you get what you, I mean,
Yeah.
his time is valuable, but the benefit of here is our astrology is very sound, like we have the capacity and experience to do teaching, but the whole thing is a little bit more accessible via price, right? And so if I remember properly, Stars Dance is set up with a Patreon. And so there are monthly tiers, which means if you got to go down a little bit for a few months, if you got to go up a bit and you just want to be at the class tier for the duration of the class you're interested in and then drop down, absolutely totally fine. I think the Discord is open to all tiers. So do we want to can somebody, Hemlock, do you mind pulling up maybe like what the tiers are and going over what people get at each tier? Because you don't just get the class, you get access to the Discord and the moon journals, and a few other.
Yeah, and so the
Right.
class is for the highest 2 tiers, which we call our moons and planets tiers.
Hmm.
But the comets tier gets the moon journal and access to all our Discord channels. Yeah. Did you find it?
It's Mercury retrograde, and I've asked my computer to do more than one thing.
And are we still dealing with that conjunction between Mercury, Mars, and the node?
Yes, we sure are. I was looking at the
This
chart
is
for this moment when we were starting this this talk, and the moon is separating from a conjunction to Mars and applying to a trine to Jupiter in Cancer. So yes, we're coming out of
one
the
of those
hole
days.
and into the light. And
Yeah, I think also talking a little bit about what you get with the class. I think it's a 4 month class because we're doing 2 week periods
mm,
where the first week we'll drop a packet. The packet will have information and also like suggested practices, completely optional, up to you. If you want to do them, you can do them now, you can do them later, you can do them never. You paid for it, it's your decision. But then the second week, there will be a Zoom where we get together to go, okay, who read the packet? What were your impressions? Let's go over some practical stuff here. Oh, here we go. Okay.
mhm, mhm,
So we have 4 levels. Our free tier, which is just you access our free channels on Discord, or free. It's a $1 a month. Um, Comets they also get the daily follow the moon forecasts and our moon journals, and then our moons and planets get all of our classes in addition to all those other things.
mhm, mhm. It's very
All right.
um it's very reasonable as far as the money
Yeah.
that you're investing. And we're actually enticing people to be part of the community rather than you're,
Mhm.
gonna pay a fee and get a download of information. Um,
Mhm.
that's really important to us. And this class might last longer than 4 months. I'm just saying, Cabra. But
Maybe I can't count today.
yeah, but it will be a month. It will be written material will go out and it goes out via our Patreon. So you do not have to be a part of the Discord if that's just not your jam. You will get the written material and you will get access to the Zoom that follows it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then, the next month that we start again and we do it. And what we're doing is we're starting off with giving you information about the planets. We're gonna start that way, and we're gonna talk about dignity, and we're gonna talk about you know all the different kinds of qualities of the planets. And then we'll go to signs, and then we'll go to houses, and add on. And we're really approaching this from the point of view of if you have any kind of basic astrological information, you'll do okay with this class. You'll be fine. And we're also really willing to answer questions if it seems like it's going a little fast. And that's kind
Hmm.
of what I feel like my role is in this class is really helping to orient people or seeing where it might be helpful to give a little bit more background information. So we really, I know it's going to be accessible to people, and it might be a really interesting way to even come into astrology for the first time.
I
So
mean, I am hopefully designing the packets in such a way that someone who can walk in with almost no knowledge and still be able to follow the class. And it is going to be a little fast compared to most introductory classes, but I'm still trying to, we're still trying to break everything down. And I'm really excited to teach the class with you because you do have the experience of taking advantage of the moment for so many years in so many ways. And like, especially because you have this affinity with the moon, right? Which is love the moon. Um, the the moon is incredibly central to like all the branches of astrological magic that like I'm into. Because that's always the first rule. If the moon is not happy, nobody's happy.
yeah.
But you can work with it. And also you come from a different school of thought, right? So like even before the class has even started, you and I are comparing and contrasting different different references. And so I already have access to materials through your experience and your knowledge that are way more accessible and also going to be of great use to anyone who wants to get themselves additional materials over the course of the class. Now you don't have to, but they're there in case you like fancy extras, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to teach this class. I think it's going to be really good. And I'm hoping that it will be beginner friendly.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it will be. Yeah. Um, Anything else you'd like to say about your philosophy or sort of, I'm interested in your ethics about magic. Um, the kinds of magic that you do and the kinds you don't do, if that's true, if there is any kind. I'm just really curious what you think about those subjects.
For me, magic is a tool, and I view the grand majority of the universe as being kind of an amoral thing, existence experience deal. And I think, but humans have morality, right? And I think I take a very secular humanist approach when it comes to my own personal ethics of like, I'm human, you're human, we're on this earth, excuse me, we're on this same earth together. So we have to learn to get along as much as we can. So there's an amount of like trying not to hurt people as much as you can avoid it. There's an amount of trying to give people every chance to like, learn and grow and do their stuff. So there's certain magic that like I won't do. So like if I was to do a love spell, it would be to help me attract people that I get along with, to make me like more magnetic. It wouldn't be to put anything on anyone else because people got to make their own decisions. I'm not trying to mess with free will here, right? Or if I'm going to get a job spell or like get money quick spell, I will probably put in a clause of like, and no hurting anybody about it, right? Of just like, I'm sure that there is a billionaire out there somewhere who could stand to lose $500 that I could gain, but I don't want to be taking like my emergency $500 that I need for something out of like somebody's Mima's pension, right? And so I definitely have a personal ethics that's very rooted in this sort of secular humanism, but because I'm an animist and I believe that human things have human consciousness and non-human things have non-human consciousness, there's also a little bit of like trying to acknowledge that other things also have their own agendas. Trees like to stay in the same place for a really long time and point up toward the sun and drink a lot of rainwater. And that's what being a tree is all about. And so if I don't have to interrupt that process to get the wood to make a talisman, I'd really rather not, right? Um, but
Mm,
yeah, so that's kind of how my own personal ethics is, but I believe that magic in and of itself is just, it's a tool, right? Like a kitchen knife doesn't have inherent morality, it just does things. And like you can use it to make soup, you can use it to hurt somebody. I'm usually making soup if at all possible.
mm, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any other
What
thoughts?
about you? How do you?
I feel like your ethics are very well developed. I um I think there's something about the witch's role, the being a witch, which is a being that breaks rules or transgresses or challenges. I think that there's a role for that. So I'm not always focused on people's comfort, but I didn't think you were saying that. I think you were, saying that you did not want to unintentionally cause harm, or like what are the avenues, like when we attune to the flows of energy and we're asking for energy to flow towards us or to flow towards something else, that desire that flow happens in a way that really enlivens and blesses people is the best. um, and there are sometimes times where the stopping or the saying no or the rejection of something that's coming towards us is also appropriate. So that is that's all a part of my magic as well. But because I don't believe I know I'm all knowing, and I know that I make a lot of mistakes, I try to use a lot of humility in my magic and a lot of play. Actually, play is super important to me. Children start off in their magic with play, and I think children are very magical. And there's just something, I think there's a trusting nature with a child's magic and the playful side of magic, which I like. So that's another part of
It's
it.
weird bringing up childhood. I think I've been making good luck charms since I was like a wee bit. That's just been like my way of doing of doing magic. And now I'm doing super fancy good luck charms. That's all they are, right? Like it's like you take an object and then at a particular time with a particular tool, you like doodle something on it, and then there you go, there's your good luck charm. But that's what it is. And it's the same thing with the bells. On some level, they're just advanced good luck charms to be like, hey, big old wise being, remember that time we hung out and it was super cool? Can you just like scooch this thing over 6 inches? I can't reach it. It's on the top shelf.
Yeah.
So, um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think if there's one thing I did want to poke at a little bit, and I think we only have 15 minutes, we can probably fit this in. One thing that I've noticed in the what 20-ish years I've been doing this, is that there seems to be like waves of people being interested in witchcraft and astrology, and then there's like ebbs in it. And I was wondering if you'd also seen that pattern over your experience, and like, do you think we're in an ebb right now? Like, what is it that draws people in whenever people start to get interested in doing magic or astrology or witchcraft?
Yeah, that is a really good question.
I mean, I
I,
can hop in a little bit here
yes, please
if you
do.
want to think for a minute. Yeah, so like I noticed like we were I feel like we were on that astrology wave in 2019, 2020. Like I don't know which sugar daddy planet was activating the like everybody get really into astrology. I don't know. I haven't gone and looked. I could probably figure it out.
My money's on Neptune and Pisces, but keep going.
I mean, it could be, but like we're no longer Neptune and Pisces, and I feel like we're in an ebb. So you could be entirely right that it was Neptune and Pisces, but I mean, Neptune spent 13 years in a sign. Like it's those ebbs and flows, I think sometimes roll faster than that. Um, but I think part of it has to do with um like the overall culture being either like constrictive or loose with what it's allowing and where exploration can happen, but also where people can have free time and leisure and you know are they in survival mode? Like I think this goes like even back to like agrarian like pre-agrarian culture of like do you have people in your culture who can look at the stars at night like or does everybody need to be working the field?
Mm.
um,
Hmm.
so I think part of it is what can people do with their like how much leisure time do people actually have to give to something like witchcraft or astrology or study of any kind. um, yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't have a fun sum up
I
point,
think
but
I think differently. Like I think we're not in an ebb of astrology or interest in magic. I think we're in a glut of astrology. Um, and it's snippets. It's like little packets of information that people know that they think like there's so much intricate study and philosophy and you know exploring the planetary cycles through history. And there's just so much in astrology that people haven't really had the opportunity to go below the surface on because there's so much that's on the surface and they're not aware that there's a lot more. And I think
yeah.
that's one of the things that I love about astrology, and I want people to know it's so much more deep than what you're getting on social media. Um,
Mm.
Yeah.
and
And maybe that's where I'm seeing the ebb is actually people going like, "Oh, you mean there's a lot of depth here and as soon as you get past the shallow end, like the drop off it can get really steep." And I think one of the great things about Starsdance is we've extended the drop off point where like you can get up to your chin easily, no problem. you want to go deeper, we'll teach you how to swim. And like, it's only, you can bob a little bit. Whereas I think in a lot of places, people get really into pop astrology and then they wade past the kiddie end and suddenly, you have to have a scuba license. And it's like, we don't actually, you don't actually need that. You can
We're just here with
actually.
like the floaties being like, listen, if you only pay attention to one planet, it's the moon. Everything else comes after.
This reminds
Yeah,
me
but I
that
think.
what makes astrology deeper is the same thing that makes witchcraft or magic deeper. It's practice.
Mm,
It's having regular practice. It's like doing a practice. And so we offer the moon journal as a way to be in practice, but you can be in practice in a lot of different ways. But that is what's going to bring you into the deep end of magic and astrology, is staying in practice and being curious. So one of the classes that we run from time to time is following the moon through the signs in a lunar month. I love that class
mhm.
because it encourages so much curiosity and observation, which is one of the main things you need to have. But then you can
Mhm.
also do
Yeah.
all the reading and learn from all the different schools and brilliant astrologers of the past. But if you don't have practice and curiosity, then you won't use it and it won't get deeper for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a
Well,
lot of the times, we call it a mystery school and we have classes, but the classes are not the end all be all of your study. They're there to set you up with things to investigate. The real study usually happens if we're doing a slower class where it's like there's one thing a month in in the ebb between the big excitement. Oh, the packet dropped, we're having a video about it. I feel like it's after the class or in those ebb periods on our slower classes where people start to digest like, okay, well, how do I connect with this, right? Am I interested in doing astroherbalism? Am I interested in doing relationship charts? Am I interested in doing a medical astrology and trying to get really embodied about the whole thing? And I think it's that I think it is the class is almost a jumping off point, and then you can ask questions or share what you found or say how do people feel about this, you know? Or I found a meme. We do have a memes channel for people to be like, is this meme all meme or part astrology? And then we all weigh in on it, you know? And I think that that's really it, is like a Stars Dance class is an introduction to a community of practitioners of various levels, but who all have that curiosity, like you said, of coming to it again and again, of being like, like who else is feeling this Pisces pile up? It's
yeah.
me. It's me, the person with a node at 25 Pisces in my natal who has injured my foot this week.
No.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, and so you can come in and just be like, how about Sedna? We have a Sedna fan person, we have Sedna fangirl in our in our midst.
Yeah. We also have like things that you don't have to engage with every channel. So if you're like, I am not into dreams, I don't want to deal with it. I don't chart none of it, right? Just mute the channel. Just don't engage. You don't have to be there.
Yep.
Or you can drop in. Or if you're like memes, or I'm not here to talk about memes, just mute. We just mute the channel.
Mhm.
Um, or if like astroherbalism isn't your thing. We also have things like our Venus retrograde, because Venus retrograde happens every 18 months.
Mhm.
We have a channel kind of devoted to like that time period that's pretty quiet except during Venus retrograde. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so we have spaces, but I wouldn't say that we are definitely not my most active Discord server by any means.
No.
But we have really great conversations that happen synchronously and asynchronously. We have people from all over the world who are in our school. We have a few folks in Europe, for sure, and definitely across the Americas. Um, and it's a good group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has
I
been a
want to
fun
give space for
conversation.
Amanda to
Oh,
ask
yeah.
any questions if they
Yeah, do you have
have.
any questions about the class or the school or
No, I have no questions. I've been in the school for a couple of years and
vibing quietly.
Very quietly. Yeah, very quietly until some pressing question emerges and I get immediate feedback, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
but like that's the thing, right? Like you could be somebody who's part of our community who's just like out here vibing, getting a little bit of info, excited to be there, but like doing your own thing. And then you're like, man, I wish I had like an astrologer on call. Like, what is this? I was doing dishes or something earlier today, and I was like, man, I wish I could just like, I don't want to have to pay a consultant fee for my Jyotish teacher to be like, so for my daughter's partner, it's the seventh, it's my fifth house, and then it's the seventh house from my fifth house to see stuff for my, right? That's how that works, right? No other Jyotishis in our school for me to run that
I'm
by.
so
I'm
sorry.
sure I'm right. I could probably text him and, right? But like, if there were, I could just be like, here's the question I have. Anyone got a source for me or an answer or an off the top? Like, am I crazy? And I think that that's really lovely and great. And I'm so glad that we're able to be that for you, Amanda.
I
I
appreciate
will
it.
I will also say the number of times that I've been in other Discords and people have been like, which planet is causing my misery? And then I first thing I do is hop over to the first thing I do is hop over to the Follow the Moon podcast for the day and be like, what happened? And
Yeah,
that usually helps me narrow down what I'm looking at quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I always go straight to the meme of what planet is making me sad. The answer is Earth.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
which isn't useful when people are asking serious astrology questions.
That's you and me in the private messages when people are
Yeah,
asking serious
yeah.
astrology
Oh,
questions.
I
We
don't
kind of
actually do it, but it
know.
makes me giggle. But yeah, I think I reference our follow the moon uh, stuff that our daily forecast that Tara so beautifully writes often. Um,
Well, we hope that people watch this video and join us. The class starts the first part of April, so get on board.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can join later because all of the material will be available on the Patreon in the Patreon library. So, you know, you can join later, but it's fun to join along and just dive in with us. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for a great overview, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you in the class.
All right. Bye-bye.